Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Fake Accents Unite. Welcome to another Fake Accents Unite. However I'm going to say it. I'm joined by the opaque and stoic Britisher to my ethereal self. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Just for the sake of the audience, we are here 14 microphones later.
14.
We now have finally found the ideal microphone for our host's voice.
Your penchant for shall we say
exaggeration?
Exaggerating. I'm starting to believe you're not even a real time traveller.
That's ludicrous.
I created your backstory. I
doubt that in the last This Week in History, I even produced pictorial evidence of my time traveling vehicle.
Look, I created your backstory and I can take it away. I brought it into this world and I can take it away just as easily.
We have now moved on to it being a Bentley Speed 6.
Of course.
With a sort of slight DeLorean quality.
How's the is this your core dev sketch that you showed me?
This is indeed the core dev sketch, I think, of which you saw a sort of the infancy as it sort of developed.
I saw the pencil sketch when that was completed.
There were sort of various stages, yes. The man is ludicrously talented, yes.
Welcome. It's nice to see some of the regulars in chat. I do apologise that we've been gone for 2 and a bit weeks, and the last stream was the one with, what was it, Tailed and Sue and Rose, I think, and it was just a part 1 because we cut out halfway through because my cat decided to take a hatchet to the electrics in the house, a urinal hatchet. Just keep that in mind.
Yes.
But I'm hoping to do a part 2 to that stream at some point. But obviously this week, it's a bit of a back-to-basics stream. We've got, it's just me and the Britisher, talking and rambling about all the usual rubbish and all the good stuff. Did I just nobble Oozaloo's stream? I assume...
Also,
wait.
Your OBS seems to be going south, you say?
Let me get in here, right, so... Evening, everybody. We're back. For reasons unknown, OBS just decided to crash and throw things. And it can't be the cat this time because I've just moved house. And, hence the lack of stream last week and all sorts, and aside from some family drama. So it's all been a bit dramatic, really. And here we are, back to take 2. But you're telling me Oozaloo's stream has just been yeeted again? I swear that man is on a watch list somewhere, though Lord knows why, given the size of his channel.
I don't think... I think I can say in complete confidence that channel size I don't think has anything to do with it. I think they definitely have their lists, and they seem to basically have various channels in sort of categories. I'm convinced it's like a tier system, and they can move you up and down tiers. And I think they can pretty much move you into plus tiers as well as minus tiers.
Oh, there's definitely a preferred category, isn't there?
Yes, and the way I would describe it to people is, when you've played sort of Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. And you can have a sword with which you can sort of, fight the monsters, or you can have a +3 sword or a +4 sword or something like that. And I think that's how they operate. That they basically can attach pluses or minuses to your channel.
Thank you.
And, depending on whether they don't like this or don't like that, they can then keep adding minuses or adding pluses. And I'm quite certain that is how they operate. Therefore, I don't think it's necessarily whether you have a big channel or not. It's a matter of whether they think that they wish to see this channel grow or not. So, I've always said the one nightmare they have is having a platform with 1,000 Sargons, in scale. Because that's when it really it really could start moving things. And therefore, I think they basically concluded long ago that they will prevent any channels they don't like from reaching critical mass.
So your go-to answer is that size doesn't matter.
Indeed, yes. It's what you do with it. Yes.
Let me. I do have to pull up the super chats from a couple of weeks ago because they never got addressed. Unfortunately, thanks to the belligerence of certain animals in the household, and I'd like to cover them now, rather than leave them till later and then forget about them and then have to sort through the inevitable deluge of super chats that obviously comes in with every Fake Accents Unite. So, let me see what we've got here. Oh yes, so this was Sue saying... Mr. Gently Benevolent saying, does Sue believe flaws exist? Reed Laverty saying, you pronounced my last name correctly, here's $5 more.
I think I can answer that. I think Sue does believe flaws exist and that I have a lot of them.
Yes, I was going to say. And she's adamant about the steps and the stairs question as well. But yes, people add a second... Oh, for Reed Laverty was saying that people add a second Y between the A and the V, Laverty, as opposed to Laverty. When I lived in Poland, people pronounced it Raid Loverty, apparently. Matthew Ivy says, I took a DNA test this past week. Turns out I'm 70% English. My family always thought we were mostly German and Scottish. You have no idea how relieved I am. I am become Brit-Bong, Saver of Worlds. Note that he's donating in US dollars there, Britcher. So,
I see.
Clearly, it's a relief. At least it's when he finds out actually he's Spanish through and through.
Yes, there's somebody who got washed up on the shore after the Spanish Armada.
Yes. Reconquista, speaking of Spaniards, Reconquista UK says, I paid for it, therefore it exists. Move over, Descartes. Lily Moore says, I live in New Zealand. Our government is a joke. Thanks to Lily Moore. Anakin Cringewalker saying F, presumably at the end of last stream, and we're all caught up to date. So Anakin Cringewalker chimes in with the first super chat of the evening and says, on the topic of time travel, do you remember John Titor? He claimed the US rurals would ally with Russia to defeat the progressive cities back in 1999.
I can't say I remember that at all.
I don't.
It's very difficult commenting on it.
I assume
I think what we would need to do is we would need to know more about this chap.
I assume that I assume that this tanked his career when he was proven wrong. Oh wait, what am I talking about? We live in a space where that competence doesn't mean anything.
Well, I'm just sort of thinking, what year did you say it was?
1999.
So I'm just wondering how strappingly alive the Christian right was still back then. And therefore I'm kind of wondering whether it is coming more from that direction than from another, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I see. John Titor was because I've pulled up what I presume is the correct Wikipedia page. That's what you're looking at right here. It's the peak of fact-finding technology. It was a name used on several bulletin boards, claiming to be an American military time traveler from 2036.
I like it.
I like this already. And it was actually 2000 and 2001. He made numerous vague and specific predictions regarding calamitous events in 2000.
Vague and specific, okay, yes.
Yeah, they've got to get the whole ream of them in there. Like it's a realm of predictions regarding calamitous events from 2004 and beyond, including nuclear war, none of which came true. Is he sure?
Yes. Yeah, that's a slight sort of detail that seems to be slightly off, doesn't it? If you're predicting nuclear war and then the nuclear war doesn't happen, that perhaps puts just a slight dampener on your overall credibility as a soothsayer.
You remember the nuclear war of '06, surely?
Yes, indeed. But then again, if you think of it, it depends. It depends how you see into the future. So, do you basically, just suddenly get a feeling whereby such and such is going to happen, or do you, for example, get visions of the future? Whereby you don't necessarily get context or anything, but you get like a still image or like a sort of a short GIF, whereby you see 2 or 3 seconds. Because if you were to have seen, so basically, if you 20 years ago were to have seen forward into the future, and then you just saw a snippet of a warehouse in a port going up in Beirut, you could be. I think one would have to kind of excuse you mistaking that for a nuclear bomb going off.
What was that awful Nicolas Cage film that he did, which was
not the bees? No, not the bees.
Not the Wicker Man. What's the film I'm thinking of where he can see 2 minutes into the future? Knowing, that was the one. That was an awful film. Did you ever watch?
I'm unfamiliar, I'm afraid.
Okay, you're going to love this. This is the plot to this film.
Is this a classic I need to look forward to?
It was just...
My life is not complete without having seen that film.
Nicolas Cage just has a reputation as a hammy actor who occasionally strikes gold.
Yes. That's quite a good description, I might add.
Right.
Yes.
He is absolutely peak ham in this film. It is absolutely amazing. Whoever wrote his dialogue should be shot in front of their family. It's truly awful. His acting is terrible.
I think we're on a golden streak here. Is the writing worse than which one was it? The Living Daylights in James Bond. Always keeping in mind that The Living Daylights was the second Bond film of Timothy Dalton. And it ruined Timothy Dalton for the audience to such an extent that he never made a Bond film again and they needed to find another one.
Oh, really?
Yes. So consider a James Bond film that is so bad that it basically renders the sort of the new James Bond that you picked and with whom you had quite a hit first film, so toxic to the audience that you now need to start all over again. So yes, that would be interesting to know from the audience, from the chat. Folks, what are the worst ever scripts in history?
I'm being corrected. Apparently Knowing is a similar theme about predicting the future. But the film I'm thinking of is called Next. And you can already tell. It's not the clothing brand, just to be clear. It is definitely thinking about the future. The film...
You're working hard not to get your stream yeeted, are you?
This film had it somehow managed, it's based on this precognition idea of a science fiction story from 1954 called The Golden Man, and basically he can see I think it's 2 minutes. Is it 2 minutes ahead? And just by pure coincidence, the film had a budget of $78 million, but only grossed $76 million. So it missed out on breaking even by $2 million. And the parallel, synchronicity, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, are you ready for this enthralling plot? So
I am, please.
Nicolas Cage plays Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson can see into his future, but he can only see 2 minutes ahead, with the exception of a vision he once had of a woman walking into a diner. Knowing no details other than the time of day, he goes to the diner twice each day at 8:09 to await her arrival, and he also works as a small-time magician in Las Vegas, where he supplements his income using his powers to win medium amounts against the house gambling. But it's kind of like the premise of this film is kind of predicated on him making different decisions and then able to see that 2 minute segment there, but it's unclear whether or not he sees that 2 minutes in real time, or whether or not he just gets the flash of it all at once, and he knows exactly what's going to happen in the next 2 minutes. And it's just a very shaky ground to start with. And there's so many different applications for this thing, but he just never used it. Anyway, he draws.
I think the Las Vegas tangent is a strange one, isn't it?
Well, it's all right.
It sort of strikes you as if somehow the filmmakers also wanted Las Vegas in there for some reason. So, one kind of bends the script, because that is a strange direction to go, I would say.
Well, it's kind of like, because he makes most of his money playing roulette, as far as I'm aware, if I can remember correctly. And so it's one of those things where if they release the ball a fraction of a second later, the outcome will obviously change. So how is he thinking about this? Is he thinking, if I put my money down now, will it land where I think it will? And then, of course, he's got to,
By the time he's decided, yes, it will, the moment has already passed. Yeah,
quite possibly. Obviously, these things are also on a timer. But if he's just hovering his money there, the dealer's, just saying, "You need to make a decision, sir." Him distracting the dealer has changed his future anyway. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's assume that he's a god at this, and he's got used to the idea of not distracting the roulette operator and whatnot. But basically, he draws the attention of Callie Ferris, an FBI agent who figures out his ability and wants to stop Russian terrorists from detonating a nuclear weapon.
This is getting ever better. So now we have got future, foresight, a magician in Las Vegas,
an FBI agent, and a nuclear
agent, and a Russian terrorist plot to set off nukes. This makes perfect sense. This has hit written all over it. Please go on.
Absolutely. Before the FBI agent can approach Chris, his gambling draws the attention of casino security. But using his ability to forecast the actions of his pursuers, he eludes them in one of the worst chase scenes I've ever seen, by the way. Despite this, the FBI track Chris to his location, but he escapes after foreseeing her arrival. Can you see where the trend is going with this?
Yep, I can indeed.
You wonder, is this ability something that's always going on, or does he have to consciously access it again? Why would he know to look into the future at this particular point 2 minutes before an FBI agent arrives, so that he knows that they're arriving? Anyway.
It's almost as if a sort of infinite amount of possibilities must be playing in the back of his mind at the same time in order for to have a chance of being aware of, you need to look now.
Golden Weaver, this is kind of like a chill show. I'm talking to someone in chat right now. We may come on to serious news topics later, but at the moment it's just a thing. If you want to submit any information about rapes or grooming gangs, etc., please do so on my Discord or via Twitter. Links are in the description for my documentary Atrocity Project, but that's not for tonight. Thank you. Sorry. Where were we?
We were in the middle of you describing one of the greatest works of film of all time.
Oh, truly, and the acting just elevates it to a whole nother level. So, obviously, all of this has come on. Like, how the FBI have gained the knowledge that this man has, what's the word? Precognition. And how they think that 2 minutes is going to help them, I don't know. But he turns up to the diner after he's being hunted by casino bosses and the FBI, and finally sees the woman he's been searching for years from his vision. It turns out that he can not only see the future, but also see how his actions will affect that future when her aggressive ex-boyfriend arrives. So we've got the FBI, Russian terrorists, casino mob bosses, and an ex-boyfriend turning up. He envisions all outcomes of his interventions, then chooses the outcome that gets him in with Liz. Knowing that she's... So he's using it to pick up this woman from her ex.
Yep.
Knowing she's heading for Arizona, he tricks her into giving him a ride. The FBI follows whilst the terrorists have worked out who he is and have decided to kill him.
Of course. Yes, I mean... How else could this possibly be? Yes.
So the casino subplot drops off at this point, replacing them with Russians who need to kill the precog. With the weapon tracked to Los Angeles. It's always Los Angeles, isn't it? It's going to get detonated there. The FBI is convinced to bring Chris in, and they follow, and the terrorists follow the FBI in the hopes that they'll be able to kill Chris. Chris and Liz spend the night in a motel, at which point the FBI confronts Liz, claiming that Nicolas Cage's character is a dangerous sociopath. Ferris asks Liz to drug Chris so that they can bring him in peacefully. Instead, she warns him, and he tells her his secret. When she asks why he will not help the FBI, he explains his limitations, noting the exceptions for events involving her, and he tries to escape from the FBI, but is captured after saving the FBI agent Ferris from logs tumbling down the side of a mountain. Unable to get to Chris, the terrorists kidnap Liz. At this point, also, they have had the quickest hookup in history. So Nicolas Cage has already slept with this Liz woman, who he met earlier today, basically de-escalated a situation with her ex-boyfriend, then hitchhiked with her, and now they're banging. So I don't know about this Liz woman's standards, but Nicolas Cage's dialogue in this just doesn't... When I saw that they suddenly start making out, and I smushing them booties, and I just let out a what? Whilst I was watching this, because it comes straight out of nowhere.
Well, I am just getting the feeling this is an epic I must see.
So here we go. Last couple of paragraphs to anyone who's bored. The FBI strap Chris to a chair and force him to watch television until he has a vision that can help. They expect him to see a report about the detonation of the bomb, but instead he envisions a broadcast from several hours in the future in which Liz is killed with a bomb vest strapped to a wheelchair as bait for him. So he somehow escapes from being strapped into a chair by the FBI.
Of course, yes.
Races to the parking garage where she'll be killed. Catching up to him, the FBI promises to help save Liz as long as he will help stop the nuke. She also sets up a plan to draw out the terrorists. Chris helps the FBI track the terrorists to the port where they are based. When they arrive, Chris walks straight up to the terrorist leader, using his power to dodge bullets.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, this makes perfect sense.
Assuming...
I sense in your voice that you think that this is a problem, but you just don't understand films. That's the real problem here.
As soon as he changes his he's envisioning himself walking up towards this guy. The guy pulls out a gun and shoots at him. He's seen this first shot, so he dodges this first shot because he knows exactly when it's going to come, and presumably he can move within human speed or at the right angle.
Foresight to dodge it. Automatically gives you the ability to move faster than the speed of a bullet.
At which point he's changed the future again. So despite his 2 minutes of precognition, what just changes the guy, I don't know, chucking the gun to his other hand and shooting him from a different angle? That's I don't see the logic here, but it's quite, it's awful. After killing the terrorists and saving Liz, the FBI and Chris find that the bomb has already been moved. They show Chris a seismograph, hoping that he will see any tremors before they happen. As he stares at the screen, he realizes he's made a mistake and was too late. The bomb detonates out at the sea, destroys the port and the city.
Okay.
So then the timeline reverts a full day in a full M. Night Shyamalan twist, and cuts to Chris and Liz back in bed in post-orgasmic bliss. That's my own affectation there, it's not on the Wikipedia article. Before Ferris arrives. Because of Liz's involvement in events, he was able to see everything that could have happened leading up to the nuclear explosion. Every time you look into the future, it changes, crawls across the screen. Chris calls the FBI and offers to help prevent the nuclear disaster and asks Liz to wait for him. Finn. It's just like...
So, but hang on a moment. In that case, the terrorists are still alive, aren't they?
The whole film was a dream, effectively. At least the last 2/3 was him, seeing the future. Because the whole gimmick is he can only see 2 minutes into the future, but anything which involves this particular woman, Liz, he can see further into the future. and it's never really, it's never ascertained how far. And it turns out that him basically having a bit of hanky-panky with her is enough to trigger him to have like a 3-day episode. And he can see everything that happens in the next, couple of days. Have I broken you? Oh, great. So this is going marvellously. Apologies to everyone. The Britisher appears to have been lost. Let me just see if I can get him back. F to the Britisher. It seems to be a Discord issue rather than a Britisher issue. Ruddy Discord. Please bear with me. There we go. Are we back in now? Marvellous. But Britisher appears to also have been kicked. So it looks like that Discord server crashed. Not something on my end, but there we go. Evening, Britisher. Welcome back. Did your Discord crash?
Well, no, you just disappeared.
Oh, marvellous. So this
stayed alive and well, but you had just gone. And then I kind of made my way to your stream online, and I could hear you, but not myself. So then I just closed Discord and started it up again, and there you were again.
Someone out there really hates this stream. That's all I'm saying.
Well, either that or someone out there really dislikes Nick Cage.
Yes. So what did you think of the climactic finish to this?
I think this is one of the greatest movies ever made. This is one of those things that if you are a Hollywood producer, if you're kind of Weinstein Jr. and you're kind of waiting for your big break to make it as a great money man in Hollywood, and someone comes to you with this script, that is surely one of the greatest moments of your life. You've made it then.
So you're saying that this is effectively the Nicolas Cage equivalent of Citizen Kane?
Very much so, yes. How shall we say? One is reminded of the producers. When they start looking for the worst script ever?
Well, I would know Britisher. But I haven't...
except you're not familiar with the producers. Is that what you're about to tell me?
It's one of my parents' favourite films, and thus I have never watched it because it was on kind of in snippets so much that it's not that I've been forced to watch it, but more that I've just been sick to death of the idea of it, and I've never actually sat down and watched it.
So, the idea of perfect bliss for you is Nicolas Cage serenading you with Springtime for Hitler and Germany. No.
Britisher, is there something you need to tell me? First off, I was silent just to allow that to be perfectly clippable in the aftermath of this.
You complete bastard, yes.
In the aftermath of that stream. Thank you very much.
You're just trying to get me in with the Ethnonats again. That's what you're doing.
I don't need to get you in there. You seem to be head of the Ethnonats as it is.
Oh, of course. Yes. They love me so much.
Oh, speaking of, just ethno-nationalists. They tried to get me going on Twitter the other day, and that was quite dull and uninteresting as usual, and they can't seem to understand why I am completely uninterested in having a conversation with them.
I have pretty much blocked them out of existence on Twitter. Thus, it is very difficult for them to dogpile me in that regard.
You feel powerful now.
Well, no, not powerful. It peaceful is the word. It restores peace. Anyone who basically comes at you with, well, yes, but this, that, and whatever, and you are a coward because then you just go, interesting, block. And, yes, it doesn't take too long, and you just basically restore yourself back to complete normality and can just get on with your day.
Mm.
Have I lost you, or are you still here?
I am still here. Give me just 2 seconds. I want to pull something very interesting out. well, it's interesting to me. Whether it's interesting to you remains to be seen. Here we are. Marvellous, right.
You're about to inform us that Ed Davey has become leader of the Liberal Democrats, aren't you?
Unfortunately not. I have discovered a book called Yesterday's Britain, which was released in 1998. And it's a first edition, although it's in fairly poor nick, so not mint. But it is effectively a family scrapbook for the nation, is what it's described as. So Reader's Digest, the illustrated story of how we lived, worked, and played. And it's just this wonderful sort of anthology of things, sort of like why BBC English came to be a thing, what a pennorth of toffee was, what were things like, what were the stately homes of England like, lots of things, feeding the 4,000 different events through British history, all in chronological order from the turn of the 20th century to the end of it, really. And it's going to be the source of material effectively for a new series that I'm going to do, which is less political and more in the realm of white pilling, I suppose, or just a history retrospective on these different activities that we used to get back to, so that people can have something interesting and tidbitty about British history. Because as someone who found their history education to be woefully inaccurate, and just, or if not misleading, and also just lacking in depth, I am
particularly on the Romans.
in many different areas, just in local history, man. Like I had lots of stuff on the Romans. I went to, Fishburne Palace and stuff like that, and I saw mosaics, and I always wanted to visit Italy so that I could see all the or Pompeii and Rome itself, and all these grand monuments, and they made the roads, and these particular roads have been around since ancient times, and these are the technologies they brought, and we've got lots of stuff like that. But in terms of the actual events of history, civics, and also the different leisure activities that we did, it's all rather lacking, really, from my mind. So I'm really looking forward to going through and sharing not just the words from this, but obviously it's all going to be edited up and presented with imagery and all that sort of stuff.
That sounds quite charming, to be honest.
Which I think I need a bit of white pilling on the channel, given the amount of distressing material that we encounter on a daily basis. And so, speaking of depressing material, since Goen has super chat in that we are 2,432,220 seconds late, not counting a power failure, we have travelled 72,431,512 kilometres in the time that you are late so far, and Britisher, This Week in History, has 2 episode 31s.
Does it now? I'll have to check that. I could well believe that it has 2 episode 31s. I am gifted in that regard.
Admiral Belsley is saying Fishburne Palace. I think it's Fishburne or Fishbourne. I think it's Burn, because I always called it Fishbourne, and I was always being corrected. And it's basically you go and you're very excited as a young child that you're going to go and see this Roman palace, and then it's mainly markers where walls used to be and some mosaics which have been restored.
Isn't it said to have been the palace that they built for a Brittonic chieftain?
Let me see.
I could be completely mistaken. I might be utterly misremembering things.
It's near Chichester in West Sussex. It is the largest residential Roman building discovered in Britain from 75 AD, around 30 years after the Roman conquest of Britain. It had various alterations made to it. I can't... owner of the palace.
Owner, yes.
the owner. The accepted theory is that the early phase of the palace was the residence of Tiberius Claudius Togidubnus.
There you go, Togidubnus, yes.
Or Cogidubnus, a pro-Roman local chieftain who was installed as king of a number of territories following the first stage of the conquest. That's very good, Britisher, given that
I'm quite proud of myself.
You had no priming on that whatsoever, and yet the neural link between you and Wikipedia is working perfectly.
No, I had somewhere in the back of my mind something said, no, I think they built this for a local chieftain, and it was sort of part of the Roman policy of showing the other chieftains, as in, this is what you could have.
When I eventually have my full office set up and all the gadgets and gizmos that I desire, I shall have a soundboard, Britisher, for when we talk about the Romans.
I see.
And so it will come up and we can have various little sound effects that we can put in for every time we do that. It will become insufferable and the audience will love it.
That's the entire point of it, yes, to make it insufferable. Yes.
Indeed. There is another theory, though. Do you know about the second theory about who it was built
No,
for?
you will have to tell me what the second theory is.
Sallustius Lucullus, a Roman governor of Britain from the late 1st century, who may have been the son of the British prince Adminius. 2 inscriptions record the presence of Lucullus in nearby Chichester have been found, and this would place the palace in the early AD 90s as opposed to AD 75. If it were designed for Lucullus, it would only have been in use for a few years.
Well,
because he was
all I
executed.
can wonder is whether if he was called Lucullus, all I can wonder is whether his gardens had cherry trees.
I doubt it, but why?
Because Lucullus, the Republican Lucullus, so this is previous in a previous era, but nonetheless still Roman. Lucullus, he campaigned in Turkey, and in particular in Anatolia, he came across a type of plant that was unknown to the Romans, and decided, you know what? This might be quite useful for us. Let's scoop a few of them up, stick them in a bucket, and send them home. And they were cherry trees.
Oh, I see.
Lucullus introduced the cherry into Europe. Yes.
Different Lucullus, but very good, Britisher, very good.
And somewhere outside Rome, he also then, as a kind of something to bequeath to the people, he left large gardens. So he had kind of bought up some land and turned them into a park, if you know what I mean. And they were known for their sort of lush vegetation and whatever. And among them, of course, are also supposed to have been some cherry trees.
Oh,
so Lucullus is quite closely connected with cherries.
It's really quite another charming story, isn't it? I tell you what, I'm going to read you the preamble from this Yesterday's Britain book, whilst we're on the subject of history, because again, I find it quite charming, and I'm trying to work out effectively how to turn this into a little, a short segment at the beginning of each video that will do it. So it says, where is this now? Yes. Most families own a box or a scrapbook in which they keep the tokens and mementos of their lives. Do they now anymore with iCloud technology? Anything might be in there. Old school reports, wedding lists, faded Valentine's cards, holiday snapshots, a cap badge or a medal, a child's drawing, a Bible with a carefully inscribed list of births and christenings. No mention of the Quran, though. It's not very inclusive, this book. Such scraps and keepsakes may not mean much to an outsider, but for those in the know, they say everything that is important about a family. Every object unlocks an attic in the mind, a storehouse of reminiscence, at least as precious as the physical article which serves as the key. Yesterday's Britain is an intimate family scrapbook of the nation. It is full of photographs and images, incidents and anecdotes which will strike a light in the memory of anyone who has spent their life in this country. It will evoke all kinds of half-forgotten experiences, from the itch of school trousers in September to the chore of cooking by candlelight during a power cut. For those born later, Yesterday's Britain answers the question, what was it like? What was it like to sleep in an Anderson shelter as the bombs rained down, to eat snook, to hear rock and roll for the first time, to sit the 11 plus? For this generation, the book is a sort of travel guide to the country's past, highlighting some of the things which would strike a visitor from the present day as bizarre or downright alien. So, there you go. That's basically there. I've cut off a little bit of it, but that's the end of that. I like the idea of doing a series on that.
I think that sounds quite interesting. I must say, I would be quite interested in hearing some of that.
Little things like did the TV actually turn off for an hour in the evening so that people could get the kids to bed? That sort of thing. Television stopped broadcasting for an hour in the evening to get children to bed.
To what extent do you remember televisions? I mean, proper televisions. I mean, televisions with bodies to them as opposed to these flat things.
I'm not that young. For God's sake, Britisher.
Well, yes, I never know with you.
I do. I do remember quite distinctly the switch from big body. Like, I was never cathode ray tube, but I do remember that although my great nan had one while she was alive. I do remember the switch from sort of big bodied TVs to great silver things usually.
Yep.
To flat screens which weren't that flat by today's standards.
Let me test you one further. Do you remember televisions without remote controls?
Yes.
Ah, well, there you go. See, and now this surprises me. I would have assumed you would kind of almost be all agog, going, televisions without remote controls?
Like, don't get me wrong, Britisher. I was on the tail end of that, but I do remember it. Yes, in the same way that the Betamax and VCR and all that sort of thing coming in. Did men actually sit on the beach in their heavy suits with a knotted handkerchief on their heads? This is a question we'll be asking. Was there truly a time when the motorways were as empty as the open seas? So that's, just an assortment of questions. That's the word I'm looking for, an assortment. And yes, do you remember where the TVs had fake touch buttons? I can see in the chat there. Yes, definitely. It's like, how to make your television more impressive. Have a button that doesn't actually do anything, but will simply infuriate the user who's fumbling around trying to find it in a dark room. Yes. Siskoan says, you call it belligerence, I call it cat behaviour, referring to when the cat took down the stream a couple of weeks ago. Back on the subject of film, Britisher. Worst scripted movie ever was Batman and Robin, including the Batman credit card and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Have you ever watched Batman and Robin?
I think I saw that back in the day. That was George Clooney as Batman, wasn't it?
Yes, and I think it was Matt Damon as Robin.
Wasn't Uma Thurman also in it?
Yes, she was Poison Ivy. It was an all-star cast of the day.
Yes, all-star cast, but it's another one of those examples of why I am such a die-hard fan of superhero movies.
Do you know what?
I just really love them. I think as people, I think particularly those who follow me on Twitter will well know that I have a deep love for superhero movies.
Wasn't there was like a weird run of them, where it was kind of, what was it? Yes, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, wasn't it? Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, which were the two of the time. And I never watched Batman Forever, but we did have Batman and Robin on VHS, and I definitely watched that at least 2 or 3 dozen times over the years.
Are you now suitably ashamed, or?
Absolutely not. It's one of those films I consider to be so bad it's good. Arnold Schwarzenegger standing in a museum saying, "What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!" and then freezing half the exhibits and causing them to crack is just straight up there. It's right up there with also Batman had a bat credit card, bat nipples on the bat suit. They introduced there was a woman in it who turned into Batgirl. Someone Silverstone, Alicia Silverstone. That's the one I'm thinking of. And yeah, it was just truly grim. And I remember, like, just Bat Boobs. She's in high heels as well. Her Bat costume has high heels. There's a bizarre thing where Bane is placing around icicle-shaped dynamite charges and all sorts. And, it's...
Oh, wasn't there also, what's he called? The chap from The Mask who played the Riddler?
That was in Batman Forever. That was Jim Carrey playing that. Apparently there was a cancelled sequel called Batman Unchained. And then after the failure of Batman and Robin, they cancelled it. It was often incorrectly referred to as Batman Triumphant. It had the Scarecrow as the main villain, and the Joker would return as a hallucination caused by the fear toxin. So yeah, they'd have got through the entire Rogues Gallery, really, there. Or all the main ones, that's what I'm thinking. They cast Nicolas Cage in it. And
who else? I mean...
And Coolio.
Who?
Artist Leon Ivy Jr., popularly known by his stage name Coolio, an American rapper, actor, chef, and record producer.
Oh, a rapper. I think we may now know why I have a slight shortfall as to know exactly who Mr. Julio is.
Do you not know the famous Roman governor Coolio, British? It's Chris.
He introduced the turnip, did he? Yes.
Chris O'Donnell was apparently Robin in that one. So they changed the actors around for every single one of these films. But Batman and Robin are, like, to me, it's a gem in the sense that it's a film that's clearly for kids and as stupid as can be. With everything. And I love that
Can I ask an awkward question?
Go on.
Aren't they really all for kids?
It's true. I'd say in the modern age, like, they've got... One of my friends is trying to get me to watch this series on Amazon called The Boys. And I can't lie, I'm pretty done with superhero films at this point. I enjoyed Marvel's run at it. I watched most of them. I watched up and I finished Endgame, and that was it for me. I was done. I was like, that story is now complete, and I'm done with it. But they keep trying to reel me in at the moment with superheroes for adults, which includes the Netflix series Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, and a couple others, which is basically superhero films but involving more, quote, realistic characters and costumes, and a lot of swearing, sex and violence, and lots of gore. And this series, The Boys, which is about what if we had superheroes and they were all evil, and these people who have been hurt by these superheroes, quote, superheroes, and are assassinating them one by one. Perhaps you would enjoy that, Britisher. They're assassinating the superheroes one by one.
Well, I think I saw the first episode of The Boys because everybody was so raving about it and telling me that this would change my mind on things, and I watched it and my mind didn't change.
The British are not changing his mind. Surely I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh, I mean, I'm so quick on my feet and everlastingly swayed one way or the other.
You're effectively superfluous, and no one can determine which side of the political spectrum you sit on, let alone your position on any other subjects.
I mean, it's not as if I would ever let anybody know my positions on anything. No, I always play my cards very, very close to my chest. I see the entire point of my channel to be not to let people know what I think.
The chat is telling me that The Boys is awesome, so perhaps I'll watch the first episode. We'll see. But I'm a bit superheroed out.
The chat is wrong.
In between doing my new Batman review series with AA once a month, and the rest of it, it's all. Have you heard about this? Did you see this?
No. I am almost glad I didn't hear about this. Because otherwise my reaction might have been, "What fresh hell is this?"
The academic agent and I have started. It's mainly AA's show, but it's called The Deepest Law, and it's basically being incredibly autistic about the minutiae of the original run
People
of
being autistic on AA's channel. This is a complete surprise. Yes.
but basically about the Batman comics running from we covered 1986 to 1989.
I wonder how long it will take him until he starts talking about the economics of Batman.
Well, it's fun to make fun of certain things, like we had a character called the Mime on there. And her backstory is she was raised by a fireworks mogul who was known affectionately as the Fireworks King.
Of course.
And she disliked her father. Then he died in an explosion at the fireworks factory, and along with her mother. And she never spoke a word again, and became the Mime.
The
Mime. It's truly great. And also the bizarre tonal shifts. So we've had everything from his when one of his Robins dies, Jason Todd. He's only supposed to be 15. And he basically gets beaten to death and then blown up by the Joker. And so you've got all that and all the kind of the emotional highs of that if you're in, and lows of that if you're invested in that character. And then you've also got bizarre stories like the Penguin opens an umbrella factory for ex-convicts. And Batman has to go to a parole hearing in his defense because he busted the Penguin, who's not allowed to associate with other ex-criminals, but did in order to give them a good shot at life.
Of course.
It's just like, what?
Makes complete sense.
It's kind of like peak Adam West, that one. So it's very strange. But it was a good... and there's some good sort of things in there. There's a lot of poking at Reagan, interestingly, in that era. So you've got Joker saying, "That's me, just another victim of Reaganomics." Thanks to Sam Nope there for reminding me of that one, and all sorts of things, bat hang gliders and all sorts. It's very silly, but we're reading the next lot, and we'll do that again in a couple of weeks, I imagine. But no, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. But yes, so where were we coming from? Oh yes, T-Bone Super Chat. Worst scripted movie ever was Batman and Robin. The Batman credit card, and Arnie as Mr. Freeze. And I like that. It's one of the lines from that film that has always stuck in my head is Uma Thurman being caught on Bat Camera, which was a camera in the belt of Batgirl or something like that. And it says, "As I told Lady Freeze when I pulled her plug, this is a one-woman show."
Okay. Yes, you really have watched that too often. You even remember the dialogue.
Dozens of times. I can remember the scenes. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger when he meets Poison Ivy for the first time. Pheromone dust doesn't work on the cold-hearted.
I see. Yes.
What a great line to introduce. Good evening, Countdown Killer.
It does not work on the cold-hearted. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Hello.
Hello there.
We're just talking about the worst films that have ever been produced, and we're currently on Batman and Robin, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and George Clooney.
Oh, the American Oldboy remake.
There was an American remake of that film?
Don't watch it.
Really?
Burn it, piss on it. It's terrible.
I watched the original quite recently, actually, and that was a messed up film, man. But it was good. It was like
which one did you watch?
The original.
Oh, it's a fucked up movie. I'll completely give you that. But it's a fantastic movie.
Why did I lock you away for 15 years? Yes, it was really grim. I assume that the Britisher is not a partaker of Korean cinema.
I have absolutely no idea what people are talking about now.
You're missing out. Like Koreans can make a fucking movie, by the way. Like,
it's a proper thriller, that. Yeah.
Like, the most recent one that everybody's talking about, Parasite, it's very misleading. It's, like, even the trailer shows you, like, one of the guys, like, going, we need to get a fumigation squad in here or something, and he flicks a cockroach off the table, and you think, right, it's going to be some horror with some parasitic creature that kills everybody. No, it's not even anywhere close to that. It's really good.
It's a really weird film.
It's weird. It wouldn't be a Korean movie if it wasn't weird, but it's a fucking excellent film.
I noticed Sue's just turned up in the chat and she's like, "Oh, there's my husband." It's good timing.
Because that was the thing. Is like I said, I would come on and I'm in the middle of editing, and see whenever I'm editing, I'm like completely in the zone and I completely lose track of time. And she pops her head in, going, "Remember, you have to go on that stream." Yes, dear.
It's good. It's good to. Like we also talked about, what is it? Next, you had that one with Nicolas Cage. Are you a purveyor of Nicolas Cage films?
Back in the day when he was, was he good? I think he had a few periods where he was good, and then a few periods when he was bad. He's not like your average actor where the career's good for a while and then becomes shit and then they fade away. He just keeps coming back.
I don't understand. Yeah, he's good. Is he a good actor or is he a bad actor? Nobody knows.
I don't know. I think it's a case that he just stars in every fucking movie. He just stars in every movie to the point where you're going to get some good ones, you're going to get some shit ones.
I think.
So, is he a good or a bad actor? The answer is
Didn't he lose his cash somewhere? I once heard that something happened and he kind of lost his fortune. So that may be part of it, that basically in order to make the money back, he's effectively taking every role.
I think he doesn't read scripts. I think he claims to read scripts. He reads the premise, thinks it's a cool idea, and then doesn't check to make sure that the dialogue isn't awful. And then obviously it goes really well. Chat saying he did have tax problems. Thanks, Richard Orrit. So yeah, he might have just not paid his tax for years and then been lumped with a massive bill. He spent a lot of it on crazy shit like albino cobras. As you do.
As you do, yes.
Like, I am Nicolas Cage. What do you need? I need albino cobras.
Yes.
Yes. Apparently, Britisher, you're the only one with good volume. Well, let me know, what... WTF, am I actually right? Let me know which one, do I need to go up or do I need to go down? That's the question. Yeah, so... Terrible films aside, what were we talking about?
I mean, I was just reminded there when you say his albino cobras. I mean, when a cobra isn't enough, wasn't it Pablo Escobar who had his own zoo?
Yes.
And some of the animals got loose, and therefore there are now wild living hippopotamuses in Colombia.
Yes.
Amazing.
And wallabies.
And wallabies?
They're just fucking... I think there's some ostriches too. It's just fucking... I can't remember what it was that happened, right? I don't know if there was an attack. It was part of the attack on his great big fucking mansion thing that he fucking had. Yeah, I know a bunch of the animals got loose. I don't know if the cops just set them loose without thinking.
And thus,
yes, here's giant wild beasts. Let's just let them loose. What could go wrong?
And so they inspired Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
So Jurassic World.
When it came to his mansion, of course, there was a twist to it, wasn't it? That one came to some kind of understanding as to his needing to go to prison, but he would be able to build his own prison.
Yes, that was an agreement. The government kind of went, we will stop chasing you if you go to prison for a set amount of time, blah blah blah. But then he was like, no, I'll tell you what, this is what's going to happen. I will build my own prison, right? And he went, and I will not leave it. You can even put guards in it and shit, and so that you can make sure that I won't leave it, but I'm allowed to build it in whatever way that I want. And so they went, right, this is as good as we're going to get from him. Fuck it, fine, we'll agree to it. And on the outside, it looked like an abysmal prison. But then inside, it had a swimming pool, a steam room,
it was a 5-star compound, wasn't it? Yes.
It was nicer than most mansions. Right, it just didn't look like one from the outside, and like obviously, like it was guarded by also like his own men, and basically, whenever the guards would come in, they would like sit and do tons of cocaine and have sex with hookers because it was full of hookers too.
Sounds like a commie crib. That's what. Definitely.
No, that's what it was like. Yeah, but it got to the point where they found out that he was still completely running his empire from like inside the prison, and then the Colombian state sort of went, "That's not what we agreed."
all he needed to do is put a phone in a corner somewhere. I mean, it wasn't that difficult, and
that's the thing that made it kind of funny. Where it just basically like, this is the terms of the agreement. I am still going to totally keep doing what I'm doing. Just you'll know where I am.
Yeah. So imagine him sitting there and going, "You can staff it with whatever guards you like, etc., etc." The guards arrive. He's like, "Do you want a ton of free cocaine, hookers every night, and some cash?" And they're like, "Yeah." It's like, "So I guess you're on the payroll now. Can you go and just deliver some messages for me? Don't tell anyone. Just off you go."
I know that was any. Like that's the thing is he had what was it the fact that sounded ridiculous but it turned out to be true. Apparently, the cartel that he was in charge of were spending something stupid like $3,000 a month on rubber bands to hold the stacks of money together.
Oh yes, I heard that. Yeah,
like that's just how ridiculous it was. Basically,
it was a Medellin cartel, wasn't it?
I think that was the one he was in charge of. Yeah.
How have you not mad ladded this guy already?
Oh, because Narcos already did it. Like the first 2 seasons in Narcos is like all about his life. Plus, everybody fucking knows about Pablo Escobar. Like doing the mainstream guys. Like fucking everyone goes like, absolute mad lads, Hitler. And I'm like, why don't you just go out and watch the literally thousands? In fact, turn the History Channel on right now, and there will be a documentary about him on. Right, just like there's no point. And it's the same with Pablo Escobar. He's mainstream as fuck. It's people like Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy. Like everybody's heard about them. Everybody fucking knows about them. That's why I don't bother with those ones.
Whereas a giant Polish bear.
Exactly.
Wasn't it? I spoke to one of my Polish friends about that video you made, and I sent it to them, and they said they learned about the bear in school, and he's like a national hero over there.
Oh yeah, they fucking love Wojtek. They fucking love him. Like I just love the fact that fucking Polish soldiers that served in the 2nd Artillery Regiment would come over to Edinburgh Zoo to visit him. And all that shit, and then throw him cigarettes until it got to the point where they had to put a sign up, basically saying "Stop throwing cigarettes to Wojtek."
Stop smoking the bear. I mean, what? No, stop helping the bear smoke. Yeah. DRT is king says, "I'm going to work soon. I was wondering what the Britisher thought of the disastrous policy towards unions that the World War I UK government had."
I have absolutely no idea of the First World War policy of the UK government towards unions. So therefore, you have me at a slight disadvantage, DRT is king.
Disadvantage, the British are honestly disgusting. Mr. Gently Benevolent says, 20-year-old Britisher introduced the apple to Europe after grabbing a couple during his seduction of Eve. Thank you very much, Mr. Gently Benevolent. Well, how do you feel about that, Britisher? You've not just desecrated the entire history of man. You started it, apparently.
Oh, apparently, yes. I obviously did a sort of quick detour to Kazakhstan because that's where one believes the apple came from.
I have no idea. There is one more, but I'm just trying to find it. Oh yes. In terms of, I've got to get some news content in here, at least for part of this stream. So I'll kick things off by saying Carl Rittenhouse did nothing wrong.
Well, he got caught.
He got caught. Well, it's just a reminder of that South Park scene where they're all sitting there with the sexual predators like Charlie Sheen and whatnot. It's like, now what's the problem here? It's like, we had sex with women we weren't supposed to. No, you got caught. Slightly different vibes, but the guy just going, got caught. Don't do it. Yes. Mr. Jenny Benevolent, yes, he says, could you please ask Mr. Dankula? How do you feel about being Mr. Dankula, by the way?
Please, Mr. Dankula is my father.
I am the Count. Please ask Mr. Dankula if he thinks floors exist. Floors. Floors, yes, as in the thing that you walk on.
The thing I'm standing on right now.
As opposed to the things which permeate our personalities.
Well, I'm standing on it, so I assume it must be real. If my matter can interact with its matter, then yes.
This appears to be the meme of the month, which is if floors exist. What also do steps exist, or are they all stairs?
If your matter can interact with its matter, then it's real.
Any matters a goal? I don't know. Yeah, it's just awful. Chat saying Kazakhstan is Europe, at least according to the EU. Apparently, Rittenhouse.
Don't look at.
You racist son of a bitch! Everything that the BBC said about you was correct. If Dankula is a count, logically his father must be either a prince or a king. How do you think your dad would feel about that? Or is he still not back from the shop getting cigarettes? No,
unfortunately, my father is still in my life. As for a king, yeah, he'd probably think that. Yeah, still thinks it, even though I could beat him up, and I have.
My dad's had a stroke, and he still thinks he can beat me up. To be fair,
you've got the advantage. Half of his body doesn't even work. You only need to block one punch.
I just need to let go of the wheelchair, mate, on a steep hill. As British, are you appreciating the turn towards lowbrow humour that has come with the Count's arrival?
Well, I am still trying to, in my mind, untangle how he can be a count with his father still being alive.
It's hereditary, is it?
Well, I mean, usually you are, I don't know, you're something the honourable or whatever if you are the heir to a count. And then the count needs to pass away for you to become the count. So that's why I think they're referring to princes and kings. So a bit like with the British monarchy, you can have the Queen on the throne, and then her heirs can be, the Prince of Wales.
Just all he has to do is invoke the Markle Amendment, and he can call himself whatever he wants to.
The Markle Amendment, I see.
She's still going around calling herself the Duchess of Sussex in America, even though she has no right to the title. But she only has no right to the title in the sovereign waters of Britain. So, if she comes over here, she has to just be Meghan Markle, slightly scummy bitch from America. And if she's in America, she can call herself the Duchess of Sussex, and the Queen can't do anything. Damn
you see, for a moment you had me wondering what the German Chancellor had to do with it.
No, not Markle. Merkel and Markles. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Count Dankula is not your real name, is it, Marcus?
No, you just used my real name.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dox you live on air.
No, it's fine. The newspapers did that 4 years ago. Yeah, my real name, funny enough, my real name's actually Mark.
No, it's not, because my name is Mark, and we can't have the same name.
No, for real. My legal name is Mark. The reason I get called Marcus is because, I can't remember, it was the year that Gladiator came out.
Oh.
And and it was a French teacher, one of my French teachers, called me Marcus Aurelius Tatisconius for a joke, and everybody laughed. and like I was like, that's not even funny. And then for ages after it, everyone was calling me Marcus Aurelius, and then it just got shortened to Marcus, and that's where it came from.
You realise now that this secret is out, Sue will never forgive you. She thought she was marrying a Marcus, and now she's only getting a Mark.
Well, she should have read what I wrote on the fucking wedding certificate.
It's her fault for... I can't make jokes about Sue being illiterate. That's just too mean. It doesn't work that way.
No, Sue can be a bit of a retard sometimes.
Actually, I think your dear wife might actually be a time traveler also.
How?
Wow.
Because I think there is something that looks like a childhood image of hers.
Right.
It's a Rembrandt. And it's called The Girl in the Picture Frame.
The Girl in the Picture Frame.
Girl in the Picture Frame. So, you're frantically Googling now. Let me get this up. And then I'm going to have to put it on OBS to make sure people can see.
I can see the resemblance, yeah.
Can you see where I'm coming from there?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I can see it.
So there you go. There is a Rembrandt of your wife in childhood.
I mean, you taking Sue for a joyride in your car when
my Bentley Speed 6, yes.
You filthy pederast.
Am I going to be like that guy that's got the little fucking Honda Civic and I've drilled holes in the exhaust so it sounds louder, and I've always got like a girl of questionable age in the passenger seat blasting techno through the town centre? I fucking hate boy bands.
It always has to be techno, doesn't it?
Or it's that terrible kind of mumbly rap that's going around at the
moment. Mumbly rap, yes, I shall take your word for it. Or, of course, it's also that sort of Europop.
Europop?
I don't know if I've heard like, maybe around the Eurovision, but, I mean, that's dead now. So, I don't know. The kind of... I'm thinking of, like Kendrick Lamar, swimming pools, Drake, that sort of thing, all that shit. That's going around like at the moment.
That's not music.
It's not music. This whole conversation we've been talking for like an hour and a half about something which spurned off from talking about John Titor. Do you know who John Titor is?
No.
So I'll just recap, because we only got through the first couple of sentences. He was a name used on several bulletin boards between 2000 and 2001, claiming to be an American military time traveler from 2036. He made numerous vague and specific predictions, so all the predictions, regarding calamitous events in 2004 and beyond, including a nuclear war, none of which came true.
I see.
As you do. Subsequent closer examination of Titor's assertions provoked widespread skepticism, inconsistencies in his explanations, the uniform inaccuracy of his predictions, and a private investigator's findings all led to the general impression that the entire episode was an elaborate hoax. It's like, who actually believed that this guy was real? I mean, come on. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I don't understand it as well. Like, say, for example, like, if you were a time traveller, you would go to the authorities and give some kind of proof where you go, Arsenal are going to win tomorrow 4-0. Or some shit, like a bunch of stuff to prove. Like, you wouldn't go, I'm going to get a bunch of vague billboards. I didn't come back with any futuristic technology or evidence, but I came back with enough money to buy some billboards.
We're working via, I think... bulletin boards, I think internet bulletin boards, man. But not billboards.
I thought you called a bunch of billboards, right?
Just imagine you're driving...
That makes it even less believable.
Just the idea that someone bought up some billboards and just put, my name is John Titor. I am a time traveller from 2036. And you'd have to buy multiple billboards going down the road, because there's only so much that the average driver can read before they've driven past, right? So it's like there will be a hurricane on this day, and it will spark a nuclear war between China and Germany. It's just the nonsense. Although I can hear Sue in the background telling me that all conspiracies are true and that we should believe everything that we see online. It turned out that he was actually a Florida entertainment lawyer, and his brother a computer scientist. For no reason whatsoever. He basically appeared using a pseudonym with a military symbol and appeared on the Time Travel Institute forums using the name John Titor. And basically, he described 6 parts of what a time machine would need to have to work, and responded to questions about how it worked.
Right.
And then, and just everyone believed him, apparently, for a year. And that was that. It was absolutely ridiculous. You take it's proper Star Trek stuff. He's talking about magnetic housing units for dual micro singularities. God, people are stupid. Jedi Knight Anakin Cringewalker says the year is 2024. China has unleashed a flu that deactivates melanin and turns everyone light-skinned. On a scale of oofs to koofs, how does the left react?
They would cry because they've got nothing else to fucking moan about anymore. Everyone's the same colour. This is exactly what you wanted. Just sucks to be you that it's the colour you don't like.
Well, in that case, no doubt there would then have to be laws on hairstyles, because it would be the only way to further continue to insist on difference.
Oh, that and names.
So this entire racial, this entire cultural appropriation thing about dreadlocks or whatever would then get added yet a further dimension, wouldn't it?
It's like, there's always the name thing. Lakeisha!
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
I remember who it was who did the comedy sketch, actually. But he basically says, alopecia! The idea of calling someone alopecia.
Hello?
Am I still there?
Everything just went dead quiet for me there.
Oh dear.
Same here. Yes, suddenly everything died. Somehow I've got... Not So Obvious is no longer with us. I can see him talk, I just can't hear a thing.
Can you hear me now?
I think he might have muted his microphone.
Am I alive?
Yeah, we can hear you
can now hear you. I can hear you, at least.
At least this wasn't an issue on my end, as far as I'm aware. Like, nothing went black.
Oh.
He
just went again.
For the love of God. Someone wants to kill the stream. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't want to disappoint you too much, Not So Obvious, but you seem to be... your microphone seems to be doing that demonic voice again.
Why?
So this indeed may be at your end, mate.
It's still doing it. Oh, for God's sake. Well, it's just
you seem to be back to normal now. Yes.
Well, that's a relief. At least in part, this stream has been, for lack of a better term, and seeing as we're way past any time which any YouTube moderator would even check the stream, a bit of a clusterfuck. But yeah, that's just what it is. Is what it is. Yeah, I didn't prepare much in the way of actual news stories for this stream. I felt like it would be just quite nice to chat shit and have things go the way they went. But it feels like it's the rounding off for the evening, if I'm honest. Unless there's anything in particular that either of you gents want to have a chat about.
I was just in the middle of editing a Mad Lad.
Yeah, who's it on?
Well, I can't tell you that, can I?
You can't. No spoilers. Ridiculous.
I never spoil the Mad Lads, no.
You have privately a couple of times, but making me sign a non-disclosure agreement every time is a bit unorthodox, I have to say. But no.
I will. Okay.
No, it's good. So yeah, I think I'll draw this one to a close, barring any more technical bloody issues. But yeah, just thank you to both of you for coming on tonight. I think we're kind of back to normal. I'll let Sue know that once I'm settled, I'll invite her back to do a part 2 of whatever we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when we were on. And yeah, thanks for coming, everyone.
Honor and a privilege, as usual.
Marvellous. Well, is there anything you want to shill other than, obviously, I mean, you have no need to shill at this point, thank you, but obviously you've got Mad Lads coming out. Anything coming out from your end, Britisher?
Well, I am still working my fingers to the bone on this video that seems to never end, but at some point, hopefully, it will end and I'll be able to bring it out, but I have no idea when that will be.
Marvellous.
It's just, it's the labour that never ends. What can I say?
Marvellous. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Thank you to everyone who sent in a super chat, and we'll hopefully see you all next week. Have a great time. Ta-ta.
Toodle pape.